As part of its support for continued Israeli crimes in Gaza, the American and British enemy launched a brutal aggression against the Republic of Yemen, with 73 raids targeting the capital Sana'a and the governorate of Hodeidah, Taiz, Hajar and Sada. The raids resulted in the fall of 5 martyrs and the injury of 6 other members of our armed forces. The American and British enemies bear full responsibility for their criminal aggression against our Yemeni people. It will not go unpunished or unanswered. The Yemeni armed forces will not hesitate to target threatening sources and all hostile targets on land and sea in order to defend Yemen, its sovereignty and independence. The Yemeni armed forces confirmed that they will continue to prevent Israeli ships going to the ports of occupied Palestine from navigation in the Arab and Red Seas.
A U.S.-led coalition has launched a series of airstrikes targeting Yemen's Houthi rebels. Now, these strikes come after a series of attacks by the Houthis on shipping in the Red Sea. And what we've heard from the Americans is that warships, fighter jets, and even a submarine were involved in launching cruise missiles and other bombs onto targets in Yemen. Those targets included airfields, where the Americans alleged the Houthis launched those bomb-carrying drones that have been harassing shipping for all these weeks. Now, from the Houthi side, we heard from military spokesman who said 5 people have been killed and 600 wounded in this attack. However, he did not name those hurt, nor did he say just how bad the damage was. The Americans and their allies had been trying to basically knock out the Houthis' military capability from launching more assaults. The Houthis, however, say they're going to continue their attacks on shipping. The Houthis say that these attacks are pressuring Israel. They say that it's trying to get Israel to stop the war in the Gaza Strip, to try to stop the killing of Palestinians who are caught in the crossfire. However, the Houthi attacks are targeting ships that have tenuous, if at any links at all, to Israel. So that's really endangered global shipping, and that's why the Americans say they stepped in. Now, moving forward, there's a fear that this could spark a wider confrontation. The Houthis could fire back. The Americans could then launch another round of retaliatory strikes that could draw in others, like Lebanon's Hezbollah, or even Iran, which so far hasn't been directly involved in the conflict. And meanwhile, all this goes on as Israel's war in Gaza continues. I'm John Gambrell for the Associated Press in Dubai, in the United Arab Emirates.
As soon as the attacks on Israel and then the subsequent attacks in Gaza took place, there was escalation across the region. In Iraq and in Syria, there were attacks on American bases and retaliation against that, increased fire across the Israeli-Lebanese border, and now, of course, the Houthi attacks on shipping, which have now been going on for some time. So escalation is already happening. The question is how far it goes. And in relation to the situation in the Red Sea, in relation to Yemen, a lot depends on what the Houthi response now will be. I think it's very difficult for leaders in this sort of situation not to respond at all, given the loss of face that involves. But I think there will be a question. We will be looking with great interest to see what the scale of the Houthi response is. And Houthis, on the one hand, they are getting a lot of street credibility, a lot of support within Yemen, as well as in the wider Arab world, for, as they see it, standing up against Israel and its supporters in the West. On the other hand, the primary Houthi interest is maintaining and consolidating its position within Yemen. And the scale of these strikes is such that is, I think, more than many analysts anticipated. And it looks to me as if it's yes, targeted against the Houthi ability to hit targets in the Red Sea, but it's potentially a little bit broader than that. And the Houthis must be worried about a situation in which their capability for holding off their opponents within Yemen is put at risk. After all, before this all kicks off, the Houthis were on the verge of a historic deal with Saudi Arabia, which would have strengthened the Houthis' position within Yemen. You know, we have this sort of situation in a number of places in the region right now. We have it between Hezbollah in Lebanon and the Israeli Defense Force. We have something similar happening in Iraq and Syria, where you can have a situation of tit for tat going on for some significant period of time, where in each case the size of the response from the Western coalition to a further Houthi strike will depend on how substantial that strike is. So I would be surprised if there wasn't some Houthi retaliation. But the question is what the scale is. One of the things that triggered, I think, this latest this American and British strike was the fact that the Houthis appeared to be targeting warships, which was a significant escalation